Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Chris and Ben for Outer Rim Transmission 116. This week, I'll be honest, not a whole lot of news going on. We have a really big story, though, involving Donald Glover, his brother Stephen Glover, now tapped to write the Lando series. Could it be out of development hell? We're going to get into all of that and much, much more on this week's episode of Outer Rim Transmission. Milton couldn't be with us this week. It's his birthday weekend. It's also my birthday week. I'm doing this, and it's part of my birthday. I guess to do this anyway. But we're getting into it. He will also be here next week, so maybe we'll have a special guest next week. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Always in motion the future is, or whatever that Jedi Master said, something along those lines. But anyway, how's it going, man?
Good. I mean, just a really chill weekend. It's just scorching heat over here, so I've been just chilling in the air conditioning all week, and we've been pushing like close to 100 with the heat index, so it's just kind of like, So I've been just hanging out inside, watching shows, playing some Xbox, just the norm, working out.
Yeah, same story here. Honestly, it's just you have to be an air conditioner. For me, it's been summer reading Star Wars style. I went from reading Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade to Star Wars: The High Republic, Tales of Light and Life, and I literally just finished and have the review up for Star Wars: Crimson Climb, the young adult Kira Crimson Dawn novel. So I've been busy the last week and a half, just read, upload, read, upload, and it's come at a good time because honestly, I can't do much else around here. But rather than go to work where I'm in climate control, then I come home and just go in the air conditioner because it's basically like 100 degrees here every day as well. So.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's getting hot this summer, but hey, we're gonna be to that Hoth level coldness soon enough.
Yeah, I know. Enjoy this while it lasts. Enjoy this while it lasts because we might be wishing it was this time of year 6 months from now. But I guess we could jump into our week at Star Wars. I'll start off with one that just happened about a couple hours ago. I was watching on YouTube, so I got back into skateboarding, and I'm like, all right, let me take a drive down memory lane and see some old videos I used to watch. It's like, oh, there's some cool Tony Hawk videos. Anyway, he was doing this video about like the easiest tricks from 1 to 21 or so. Start off with like an ollie and going. Anyway, he was doing a front side 180, and he's like, literally a part of this trick is kind of like using the Force because you can't see behind yourself, so you have to believe. So there's an element of, oh my gosh, you kind of have to just go and hope for the best, and it's like using the Force. And I was just like, that is kind of funny. So it's more or less like opening up the fact like sports with the Force. And I can think of one right off the top of my head. Like, I think like in baseball, like hitting a ball that's coming at you like 90 miles an hour is probably the closest to like you having to have Jedi reflexes on anything on the planet, I would imagine, because most people don't hit the ball by just pure probability. And when you do, it's like it's like you're locking on with the proton torpedoes and you're firing it to like the Death Star, exhaust for or whatever like that. So I don't know, Ben, if you have any ideas, like what other sport activities, anything that could seem so difficult that it's almost to intuition and instinct rather than actual skill at points.
Yeah, I mean, I would say even all right. So this type of sport takes a little bit of skill, but so an easy one that actually I've been like practicing in, over the past few months is like calisthenics, like body weight exercises. And for me, it's been doing like the harder ones like handstands and handstand push-ups and stuff like that. Because, when you're doing like a handstand, it's like, you're balancing like Luke on Dagobah. Like you got to keep your balance or it's just like, boom, you crash. Like, it's like I've had that happen before, like in like me practicing handstands and stuff where it's like, I think to myself, man, gotta like be balanced in the Force here to like hang on to this handstand so I don't just tip over onto my back or something. So, that's kind of like how I've actually like dealt with stuff personally in terms of like skills and like athletics and things. Like I've experienced it in, just like practicing handstands and handstand push-ups the last few months where it's like, I kind of like am thinking like a Jedi, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's literally something that got done in Empire Strikes Back. So it makes a lot of sense to pull that one right away because it's just like, Yeah, we got Jedi training going on. Luke is having to do this exercise. Yoda told him to do this exercise because it means he's going to increase his inhibitions, his balance, his coordination. It's funny, a few times, like, everybody that works where I work knows I'm a huge Star Wars fan. It's like, oh yeah, Chris, you should like do some kind of like Jedi Academy for like May the 4th. Do like a Jedi Academy workout or something. Like we do like a all body. I'm gonna try to do something like that next year. Just do all body weight, handstands, like jumping across like pull up bars. You know, Cal Kestis style, clambering up like ropes and stuff like that.
That's great. Hey, there you go. Second channel, Jedi Academy Fitness.
Yeah, so what about you? Do you have any cool things to note this week? I know you finished The Last Command last week. Did you start
Yep.
anything new this week?
Yeah, so I finished up The Last Command, and that book, it was awesome finishing that up. A great way to like finish things out. Mark Thompson did a great job, of course, narrating it. It was awesome. Actually, I sent it in our group chat, but for our,
Yep.
our listeners, Mark Thompson actually liked my tweets when I was
That's
complimenting
amazing.
like his work, and I was like, "Holy smokes!" And then he was like messing with me about it, by the way, because like I tweeted 2 more times and tagged him, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Mark Thompson just liked my tweet, night made." And then he went through and like liked 3 or 4 of my tweets, just like I was like, "Dude, you're just messing with me now."
It's funny as heck because on Facebook, I'm friends with a lot of people in the community, just like people not part of Star Wars, but people literally just like podcasters and stuff. And
Yep.
whatever reason, I always scroll through my Facebook, and it's always like people you may know, Mark Thompson, like 19 mutual friends. I'm like, do I send this guy an invite on Facebook? I don't know him. I never even met him before. Well, actually, no. I sat next to him. I literally sat next to him in a Lucasfilm publishing panel pre-COVID, and he was dressed up in a Jedi outfit. And
He's the
then,
best.
yeah, then what
Go on.
happened was they said, okay, we have a special guest, like the presenter. We have a special guest to say something. And then he got up and he like started talking like Thrawn. And then that was the announcement that they were making the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy. Like he basically read the synopsis
awesome.
for the first book. And yet, little did I know he was like sitting right next to me. I didn't really know him at the time. I was like, holy crap, that was him.
Yeah, I love his Thrawn voice. His Thrawn voice, obviously, it doesn't sound like Lars, but his is unique in its own way. Where it's like, man, that's a great voice for Thrawn as well. But yeah, so I kind of had like that little bit of week in Star Wars, and then also like so finishing up The Last Command, like that got me down like a rabbit hole of looking up Star Wars collectibles actually, and whew, certain collectibles are a lot more expensive than what I thought they would be. So like I dove down the rabbit hole. I was like, oh, let me see if there's a, since Mara Jade's like such a big integral part of that trilogy, I was like, let me see if there's, her first lightsaber. And so I went down the rabbit hole of looking collectibles up for like Mara Jade's first lightsaber because I have the Skywalker one over here, and I was like, maybe that'd be a cool one because like she's a unique character and fans love her and all this stuff. Well, so I got down the rabbit hole of all these Star Wars collectibles, all these sites and things. And so obviously there's like knockoff versions and stuff, but like the actual official master replicas Mara Jade lightsaber, and mind you, there was only 750 of them made in the entire world, and they were autographed by the chick that was modeled from Mara Jade, like the girl.
Oh my gosh.
Take a guess how much it was running for.
$800.
A little more than that. On average, most of them, what I found online, like just everywhere, different collectors' websites and things, since, like I said, there was only 750 made in the whole world, they were ranging anywhere between like $1,800 to $2,500.
Oh my
And I was
gosh.
like, holy moly. Like I can't lie. I was gonna buy one if there was one for like 500, I would have bought it. But when I saw like the cheapest ones were like 1,800, I was like, no, I can't do that.
Hell
but
no.
but yeah, it was cool. Like they had the girl that played Mara Jade like sign all of them and stuff. So it was a signed master replicas version and all this stuff. But it's like, man, like I found one actually was up for sale on a collector's website. It was out of 750. It was like it was like 38 or something. So it was a really high up collective or high up variant of that saber, and that one was selling for 3,000. And I was like, holy smokes! But but yeah, I mean, so I don't know. It just got me like diving down the collectible rabbit hole of Star Wars stuff after finishing up The Last Command, and then I looked into Mara's lightsaber and was like, whoa, that's out of my price range. But it's cool to see that they actually made her lightsaber. And a fun fact actually about Mara's lightsaber. So, in my like research of these collectibles, hers was the last Master Replica's lightsaber under the Master Replica's brand. Like that was their last product they made for Star Wars in terms of lightsabers.
Yeah,
so,
that was before like Hasbro Black Series, right? And now,
yep.
And then we have that. We also have the Disney Parks ones, which are incredible as well. Like they're super high quality. So I'm happy that like these ones are actually a lot more affordable and they look great. Like I think those Master Replicas are usually like $500, like retail.
Oh yeah.
Like they were set at that price. Like I remember going on eBay looking for a Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi hilt, and it was like,
yeah. Well, that's
geez,
like
that was
my.
crazy.
So like this is a Disney Parks one I have.
Whoa.
And I got it off the Disney Parks website. You can get like Luke's. Yeah, I would say this was only like $150, but it's well worth it. Like, it's nice metal, the blader moves. Wow. And the cool thing about these ones from the Disney Parks site is they actually come with like a stand where you can set it up like this. Or there's it also comes with a stand to set it up where it's just the hilt, or there's another option. I mean, I didn't do this just because I don't hang lightsabers on my wall, but it comes with the actual hands, like the little clips to hang your lightsaber on the wall, so you could like put the whole blade and the whole thing on the wall.
Oh, it's sick.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, they're only like $150 on the Disney Parks website, and it's like I'm actually considering, because I think they have Qui-Gons on there. I was thinking of maybe getting Qui-Gons because I want to get another lightsaber. Hey, I mean that'll, as a preview for our listeners, I might end up doing that for like my own birthday gift to myself this year here in September. I might get like Qui-Gons or like someone's lightsaber off there. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking of maybe getting another one off the Disney website.
It's really neat how much they have on there. Like they have such obscure Jedi. Like they have Luminar Undulies and stuff like that.
Count Dooku's.
Yeah, Count Dooku's. It's like every possible Jedi from the prequels they have sabers for. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just so I kind of like made up my mind on that the other day. I was like, yeah, for my birthday this year, my 30th birthday, I'm gonna get me a another cool lightsaber hilt. So we'll see this September.
There we go. All right, so that brings us to our show proper. For those of you that are watching, you could also listen to us on any podcast catcher of your choice. You can find us on Spotify, Google, Apple, Amazon, and more. Just search Outer Rim Transmission. For those of you that want to watch us and be part of the living chat, you can go ahead and search us on YouTube, Outer Rim Transmission, youtube.com/Starrapter every Sunday. We've been kind of experimenting with our time, but yeah, definitely anywhere between 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern is our start time. It's summer here, so things are going to be a little bit more flexible as we go along, but definitely will be around prime time on Sundays for your watching and listening pleasure to end/start your week off, covering all the news. There you go.
Also, one thing to throw in there for our listeners and our viewers, just keep in mind, guys, we are only, I think, 24 days now away from Ahsoka.
Yep.
24 days away from Ahsoka till that Wednesday. So, but technically, for all of us people who like watch it at 3 a.m., only 23 days away until Ahsoka Eve. So we're getting close.
Oh man, and the fact that we're getting those 2 episodes back to back is going to be glorious. Absolutely glorious.
Oh yeah, it's going to be exciting to start the season that way. And then also, just another little thing for our listeners as well. If you guys haven't checked it out, on StarWars.com's databank, they updated Balin and Shin and Morgan Elsbeth's like descriptions. They added like a little bit extra to them, like like Balin saying like he's a mercenary and this and that. Like they like gave like they expanded the descriptions just a little bit on Star Wars' website just yesterday.
Oh my gosh, I have to look this up now. You know me, man. I eat up like any little blurb or any little thing about these characters.
Yeah, they did. They're just little blurbs. Like it's literally just like a few sentences, but they updated them. I checked them out yesterday.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah. So we have a couple new releases this week. First of all, we have mainly just comics. Yeah, we mainly have comics here. The Mandalorian issue 2, volume 2, again, par for the course. If you want a direct adaptation of The Mandalorian, you want to have a collectible item, it's fine. If you're expecting anything more, anything behind the scenes that we didn't see in the show, then you're going to be disappointed. So there's that. We also have the conclusion to Darth Vader Black, White, and Red. This is issue number 4 out of 4 for the miniseries. This is a, it was a pretty cool series. It's just Darth Vader being super violent. I don't think any of these stories are technically canon or really should be having much stock put into them, but they are really cool for a visual kind of like experience where literally everything is black, white, and red, as the title suggests. And finally, we have Hyperspace Stories number 6, which is essentially the origin story of Greedo. So go ahead and check that out because who doesn't want to have a cool Greedo story that involves Jabba the Hutt, involves a singer, and the singer getting one up on Greedo and Jabba both. So we'll see how that goes. But yes, as I mentioned off the top, if you are looking for the latest on Star Wars book reviews, then I'm the place you want to check out. YouTube.com/Starrapter. I have my reviews for Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade, Star Wars, High Republic, Tales of Light and Life. And I just uploaded today, Sunday, I uploaded my review for the upcoming Star Wars Crimson Climb. That one's not out until October 10th. Star Wars Tales of Light and Life isn't out until September 6th. Although the people that went to Comic-Con got Tales of Light and Life a little bit early.
My birthday.
Oh, perfect. There you go. There you go. Yeah, no. So far, all those books have been hitting. Those 3 books I've read, I'm just like, these are all really good Star Wars books. I'm very happy. But I'm also kind of like, okay, I'm ready to maybe dive back into the Witcher universe now because I just finished watching season 3. I'm not seeing much chatter about it online. I gotta admit, I put out a tweet. I don't think I got one like on or anything, and I haven't seen any discourse, any conversation. So I think a lot of people probably just kind of tapped out of the Witcher after they found out that Henry Cavill's not going to be playing him anymore. But I mean, my take on it was, as somebody who has read the books, and they are doing a much better job this season at adapting the books because I think they were going off the deep end season 2 a little bit, kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. But they definitely got back on track, and I will say, if there's going to be a time when they could leave it and have another actor fill in the role, this would be it. This felt like the end of Act 1, and now a new adventure, a new journey begins, and then they could just, I don't know if they'll pay attention, if they'll make a point to changing the actor or not. But anyway, this isn't the Witcher cast, but I just wanted to put my own 2 cents in there.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, I'm not really a big fan of the Witcher show. Like, I watched the first season and it was just kind of like, to me, even though I love Henry Cavill. But I, even from like different pop culture channels and things I follow, there just wasn't much buzz about it, really. So I don't know. It's just like you said, people might have just checked out knowing Cavill was gone and stuff. And
Yeah.
my fingers are crossed. He's just going to be playing James Bond next. That's what I hope.
Yeah, it's interesting because, Netflix, up front, like they got huge numbers for Witcher season 1. That was like sort of their answer to Game of Thrones. I mean, it was like a high fantasy series that was pretty mature, pretty gritty, a lot of, gore and darkness and sex and all that stuff. So I was like, ooh, I can get into this. And then all of a sudden, like season 2 came out, people dropped off. Season 3 came out, a lot of people dropped off. So it's like, oh crap. I'm wondering what happens with Netflix now. Like, are they going to try to scale back on Witcher? Because even compared to some of the other stuff that's on there this week, it wasn't even trending at number 1. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like they put all their eggs in the basket for Witcher. Like they made an animated movie, which was awesome. Blood Origins, I liked it, but I know a lot of people probably wouldn't like it because it's just not as well made as the Witcher series, the flagship anyway. So yeah, it's like, oh crap, is Witcher trouble now?
Well, see, the thing is with The Witcher. Here we go. Outer Rim Netflix podcast, but the thing is with The Witcher, I think the reason as well. I mean, who knows? They might phase that show out. Maybe we do another season of it or whatever. But I know, like, this was going back clear to the last year with the Hollywood Reporter deadline and all those people reporting it, but it was getting highly talked about that the live action Avatar The Last Airbender franchise that's in development at Netflix, they want that to be like their flagship series next to Stranger Things. Like that's what they're really wanting to have as their big show. So I think
Oh,
that's
okay.
the reason, maybe the reason why, like, even just not even The Witcher, I think it's going to impact a lot of the other shows as well, but that's what was getting reported like last year about the Avatar series. Like they want that to be the show on Netflix when it comes out.
Interesting. Well, let's take a trip over to Disney Plus and detour over to a galaxy far, far away. And we are talking about Lando. So, yes, we haven't heard any concrete news about the show. It got announced way back when in December of 2020, in the height of the pandemic. Bob Chapek, Kathleen Kennedy, Investors Day. We got Acolyte. We got Rangers of the New Republic. We got a droid story. We got Lando. I mean, here, who was acting in it. We didn't know what the storyline was. We just get a title card. That was it. Well, we got a little bit of news of what is happening over there. So apparently, Donald Glover and his brother Stephen Glover will now be writing the series. So originally, there is a writer, Simeon. I'm trying to figure out where the guy's first name is. This is
Justin Simeon.
Justin Simeon. This is coming to us from the Hollywood Reporter, but it originally came from Above the Line. Yeah, Justin Simeon. Uh, so yeah, I mean, basically what this tells me is like, oh my gosh, like there's a good chance that this could actually happen. I had in my head that we haven't heard anything. We've been hearing cutbacks of, maybe Book of Boba Fett season 2 got axed. Rangers of the New Republic got axed. Even the movie side of things, Rogue Squadron's not looking very good. Taika Waititi's film not looking very good. But this, to me, at least, adds a little bit of hope, a little bit of credence that this could actually still be in the cards for Lucasfilm. Of course, we got the writer and actor strike going on, so they can't even work on it yet. But if they could, if they get started on this thing, let's say in the fall, let's say everything gets resolved, they start in the fall writing. Maybe by 2026 we'll see this thing. I don't know the timeline on this stuff, but I'll throw it over to you, Ben. What are your first initial impressions off this news?
I mean, I think it's great news just because, for starters, God, I about said Lando Glover, Donald Glover. Donald Glover, is a like Emmy nominated. He's won a few Emmys. He's been nominated and won for both, acting and writing. So like, he's a great artist overall in terms of like creative vision. So like that's a nice, refreshing part of the show. So that's exciting. The fact that his brother's on it, his brother was involved with his other projects as well. So like, they're working, they have a good working relationship. So you have that. And like you said, it just adds kind of more credence to the show most likely happening, I would say now. Like, because the thing is, when it comes to a lot of these Star Wars projects, is you have to look at them this way. Like, this, I would say, is like a project coming from within Lucasfilm. Like they're wanting this project to be done, like this, for example, like the Filoni movie, like the Rey movie. These type of things are coming from Disney. And see, I think the reason why, like other projects, for example, like Patty Jenkins, like even potentially James Mangold, the Ryan Johnson trilogy, these type of things, like those were ideas pitched from outside people. So like I think that's why like this Lando show has a better chance of happening than not, just because this is more like an idea coming from like within Lucasfilm versus because if it wasn't coming from Lucasfilm, for example, if it was just the former writer's project, they would have just axed the show. But since they picked it up, they picked it up with Donald Glover. That means this is an idea coming from Lucasfilm. So I think that's a big thing for people to keep in mind when they're thinking about this show. And then, like you said, as for the timeline of the release, it all just comes down to the strike. Like, if the strike clears up quickly, we're hearing the earliest potential stuff could happen, October, November. So, we're looking at least until into the fall for any type of progress. So, we have that. And then, if that would get cleared up some, if that would get cleared up, then everything could just resume and continue on, and you would have you'd have the Donald Glover firing up the show. So if you think about like the writing process, like this, it probably won't even start shooting till all best case scenario, if the strike would end immediately in October, like writing everything for the Lando series, like this show probably wouldn't even start shooting until the end of 24, maybe early 20. Yeah, so you're looking at this would probably be like the January, February, March type show of probably 2026, probably, I would guess.
Wow. Yeah, I mean,
just basic mathing it out, and that's
Yeah.
if the strike ends in October, November.
the thing is, Billy D ain't getting any younger, that guy, right? And I really hope that he would be a component of it, right? Like I still love that idea. It's not my own idea, but through the grapevine, people are like, oh, what if you have like a different kind of writing process or filming You got Billy D. William who narrates the beginning of every episode, and then I kind of like it, like Calrissian Chronicles. Like, let's transfer into our discussion of just what we think. It's been a while since we talked about Lando as a series, so I think it's a great enough opportunity to talk about it a little bit more. Having the Calrissian Chronicles, like I guess like the Indiana Jones Chronicles, I've never watched them, but like having what's the word for a series where it's like each episode episodic?
Serialized.
No, I think episodic is like the one-off.
Oh yeah. Episodic's more like the one-offs. Like it's like kind of like the CW like villain of the week type thing.
Yeah, like they could have like each episode can be titled in a way where it's like literally like Calrissian Chronicles number 25, Lando and the Mine Harp of Sharu, and then it's like you have like a self-contained 40-minute adventure where it starts with Billy D and ends with Billy D. And maybe they can have some like little thread that ties each tale together to like have Billy D like find his daughter somehow.
Yep.
Like,
see, I would love that. I've seen people talk about that before. I really wonder where like this idea came from. It might have just been like social media's, swelling of ideas, because like that's an idea I've seen consistently thrown around, but I think it would be awesome. Like, cause the thing is Billy D, he really can't do much anymore. So like you could easily just have him doing like a narration thing. And even if you do it in the present day, like, put a couple minutes at the beginning of each episode, couple minutes at the end, like have it be like super, super generic and easy acting for Billy D, but just something like, something really generic, him finding his daughter, in the present day or something, connecting, and then have like all these like backstories and stuff going on for the majority of the episodes. I think it would be awesome. I really do hope he's involved though, like to some degree, whether it's like how we're talking to begin and end episodes, or even just like begin the series and then end the series, because that could be like his send-off potentially.
Yeah, I mean, look at what's going on. We have an older actor in Samuel Jackson. Obviously he's a little bit more spry than Billy D, but like we have a series that's being carried by an elderly person in their 60s, right? I think he's got to be in his 60s, right? If not early 70s, Samuel Jackson, right?
Yeah, I think he's close to 70.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, like, and you have Indiana Jones with Harrison Ford literally playing as his 80-year-old self. So why not have Billy D in there? And the other actor, gosh, I'm like brain farting. Donald Glover. Yeah, why have them in there? And it makes sense that this is going to be more serious now, because if the actual actor himself is writing this thing, it's going to be made eventually. Like, he has all the control. I think the problem is with this series is we've heard from Kathleen Kennedy a number of times where it's like, oh, we really want to get this show on the road, but Donald Glover is just so busy all the time, and it's hard to nail down a schedule. And I know he had his own show. I think that has come to an end, so maybe he's a little bit more free to be able to do this thing.
Yep, I would say so. I mean, you have those things to keep in mind with it. And yeah, it's just going to be really nice to see what they end up doing with it. And, like we were talking a little bit in our group chat, like Donald Glover's the perfect age. Like, if they want to, like this is something a lot of people haven't even thrown out there yet, but they could actually do a post Return of the Jedi Lando series even, you know? Like if they're not going to do like episodic, if they want to do just a series, they could do it post episode 6, like leading,
Oh.
like something like that. God, for all intents and purposes, like, or give us like, Chris, like for you, your experience like reading Shadows of the Sith, like give us some of like Luke and Lando stuff in live action. If we want to go like really out there, I would love that. But but yeah, I think whatever they do with Billy D, Donald Glover, the good thing is I do feel like, especially for like the people that really love the Solo movie, I think there's a really good chance we get Alden as well as Amelia Clark back into Star Wars again.
Yeah, which is so funny because I'm on a solo kick right now. As I said, I just finished the Crimson Climb, Crimson Dawn, Kira origin story, which literally takes place. I think it's 3 year gap between when they get separated on Corellia and then Han goes back to that snowy planet and finds her with Dryden Voss. So I'm totally in that headspace right now where it's like some continuation of Solo would be fantastic. There's been stories that skirt along that timeline, but it's almost like Lucasfilm is still holding out on hope for them to continue the very story that ends there when they're gonna go visit Jabba. Like there's really still nothing in canon that kind of negates anything that could be placed directly after it. Like they're still holding it. Like there's
Um,
still a placeholder there.
yeah, see, that would be perfect. I would love for them to just do that. Like, give us a few. If we're gonna do an actual series, like you could easily do a series in that time period. Like you get your criminals, you get your obviously your familiar faces and characters and locations, because especially during that time period, like you would have to run into the familiar locations. So I feel like people would enjoy that. Um, and yeah, I think this series has good potential. I really do, like, because Lando's a recognizable name. Like Kenobi, like Boba. Um, what regardless of how those series turned out, they were recognizable. Um, and then of course, you're leading it with Donald Glover. Like I just think it has a really good potential of doing really well. I would love to see them finally go, like let's say if it is episodic. On the other hand, say we get a story in the Java time period, like we were saying after Solo. But man, it would be cool to see them like go in. I don't know. Someone make Donald Glover watch Return of the Jedi like before he writes this show or something, because like give us an on-screen like thing, explanation as to like Lando referencing like the Battle of Tanab and all that. Like give us that in live action. You know, Chris, you're muted.
I can't believe we haven't gotten that yet. That's been that one illustrious kind of like that storyline. I don't know. It's like Yoda's age, right? Like or not Yoda's age. It's like Yoda's species. Like what's that called? We'll never find out. I guess we'll never find out what the Battle of Tanab is, unless they finally get to there after the Dark Droids thing in the latest Star Wars big event coming out this week. Who knows?
Yeah, I would love to see that. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Lando series could have some really good. I think it could be a lot of fun in a way, like almost like a certain point of view to an extent. Like with Lando, he's a big character, but he's ancillary enough where you could have Donald Glover's Lando bumping up into familiar places like from different angles and things.
Mm. Yeah, because we got to figure out what's the mission statement of the show. Why? What would it do? How would it kind of pace itself to be different than the other things out there? What would make it different from Mandalorian? What would make it different from Andor? What makes it stand out? Like I look at Mandalorian, I look at Andor, and they're two polar opposite things. Like you're gonna get fans that are gonna like Andor for reasons that fans of Mandalorian would not like it, or vice versa. Then you look at something like The Acolyte. Okay, that's our show with Jedi. Like we just learned a week ago or so, it's gonna have the most Jedi in any other Star Wars live production thing ever. Then we have Bad Batch, obviously animated. So what is Lando going to be? Maybe it could be like the first comedic like borderline comedy, kind of like She-Hulk, although I don't think She-Hulk really accomplished that, but I know it was trying to be that way. But yeah, I mean, could it be that episodic kind of thing where it'd be like, okay, if you want a really fun story every week that's gonna expand the Star Wars galaxy in 40 minutes or less, here's your show. Like that's it, I'm very interested to see what their pitch is for this show, whatever it's gonna be.
Well, you see, that's the interesting point I haven't thought about yet. Is like, what's the show's mission statement? Like you said, because you have the basics for like Kenobi or Boba or Mando or Andor, or Bad Batch or Clone Wars. Like you have the basics, like, and it just makes you wonder. A character like Lando, he doesn't have the Force at this time period. Like if it's taken place before Episode 5, he's not in the rebellion. If it takes place after, then you could maybe do some rebellion related stuff. But so you have those options there. I mean, maybe. I don't know. It just feels like with Lando, also it begs the question like who are going to be the co-stars? Will it be Amelia Clarke and Alden, or will it be like, or maybe we'll have Lobot in every episode with them or something, like maybe something along those lines. But yeah, like it just also begs to ask like, okay, who are the co-stars? I feel like with this series, inevitably, even if it's like a guest episode of the week, we'd get Han and Chewie because it just feels like inevitable they would have Chewbacca in this somehow or another, especially like with how active like Jonas is with Lucasfilm and Star Wars and stuff. So maybe it'll be something with Han and Chewie and Lando, doing some heist or something together. Or I mean the thing is as well, we have to remember with Lando, the great part about his character is the fact that even though we've seen him a million times and stuff, we could still potentially see Darth Vader in this series. Like we could see Darth Vader, meet with Lando at some point, because I don't think, like, I don't know, the way when you watch Episode 5, it doesn't seem like that was their first ever time
You're
meeting.
right. Yeah.
Like so it just begs the question, like, maybe we get Vader popping in for something, just because like maybe they do a dirty deal and then Lando like regrets it and like double crosses him or something, and like like I don't know.
Yeah, because Lando, I don't think a normal person would stand up to Vader and like try to bargain with Vader unless they already knew what they were getting into the first time. Like they already had experience with him. Like he wasn't really taken back with them. So you're right. I could see that. My other thing is you talk about plot, you talk about story. So talking about story with Lando, what could be fundamentally changed about the character of Lando in the series? Like why? Just like the Obi-Wan series, and I feel like that show just didn't hit just because like the story behind Obi-Wan wasn't done as well as I could have thought it could have been. Like, yeah, the whole process with, okay, how do you go from tragedy and being in despair to having hope? Okay, I guess that could have been the story to a
Or
certain
Boba
degree.
Fett. I mean,
Oh, for the Boba Fett story, there is really no story for him
like,
in that. There's no character development really.
see, that's a good point too. Like it's like, where I wonder like what they would use this show for as a like you said, how would you progress his character potentially, or just add into his backstory? Okay, so maybe you're not progressing his character if it's in the past, but you could go along the lines of, like I was just saying, like maybe we get some of the like you know what I'm saying, Chris? Like maybe they backstory in a way to forecast his turn in Empire Strikes Back on Han. Like, you know what I mean? Like maybe he does a deal with Vader in the past, or someone in the past. Maybe they do something like that in the past, like in this series, where it can build into his turn in Empire.
Oh.
Like
Very interesting.
Like that's the only, because Lando's a tricky character, because you can't just do a typical Jedi arc with him, or you can't do even really like Andor, because the thing is he's not in the rebellion yet, so you can't really make him go full good guy. Um, and then it's just like, I don't know. It's just a tricky way to do things. And like, I think the best, or like one of the better ways to do it, I feel like would be like our like Billy D. Williams intro with just episodic story ideas, because then it's just kind of like one-off mission of the week type
Yeah.
things versus like an ongoing story. Because if you do an ongoing story, I think it would be hard to do that unless like, hey, maybe maybe you make the finale the Battle of Tanab or something. Like maybe you do that for the show, but like, but I just think you would have to do one-off stories like with Lando, just because I don't know how much further, how could you progress Lando's character pre A New Hope? Like what would you progress him to be more of a swindler or something? Like
Yeah, that's. I don't know. I mean, we see him in Rebels. He's going around with a puffer pig trying to extract minerals from Lothal. It's like, what the heck is this deal over here? Like, what the. He's full of different things, but like, I could see, like, if you know what you're getting into, if it was episodically, they could have a theme of the week. Kind of like Clone Wars, like they had like all those fortune cookie things in the beginning that give you maybe an idea of what the plot could be about. Maybe it could be something as simple as that, and that would be different enough for the Star Wars folks out there to be like, hey, it can't be filler if it's the whole point of the story is to do episodes like this. So it's like, I don't want to hear it from the community. Like, there's no filler because every episode is basically filler because there is no serialized story that travels through all these. So, take that. Like, what happens if Lucasfilm reacts to all that stuff and we're like, all right, well, we're going to make a show where nothing's connected. Here you go.
See, the crazy thing is, us cracking jokes about filler and stuff, I would love some shows like that because then you could really get interesting with the missions, like with Lando. You could do plenty of things. You could do a Battle of Tanab. You could do a Han and Lando mission. You could do a Lando and Lobot mission. You could do a Lando meeting with Darth Vader in the past mission. You could do Lando, all kinds of things. Let's not do puffer pigs in live action. I really don't need to see that. But like, I would like Lucasfilm to do ideas like that because just imagine on the flip side, not let's say not Lando, but what if they did Tales of the Jedi in live action? Like how amazing would that be? Like just to get a 25-minute episode, one-off episodes of like young Dooku or young Ahsoka or Plo Koon or just do like a 6-episode arc. Like my thing is, I saw some other, this isn't like my idea, but I was like, man, after like, I know like all the spoilers and stuff from like Shadows of the Sith, but just imagine if they broke up Shadows of the Sith into like a 6-episode like little mini series live action or something. Like, just stuff like that. Like heck, even break some of the books up into like episodics, like 5-6 episode things. Like I think there's so many options they could do creatively with live action shows. Like, you don't have to do an ongoing episode to episode series. Like you can do these one-off stories like Tales of the Jedi. Like, if we do it with the Lando series, like I think it would be really cool just because, then, for example, if you go to introduce the series to like your loved one or your girlfriend or someone of your buddies or whatever, they don't have to be like, oh man, I got to catch up on 5 episodes to get into this. Like, it's like, no, you can just watch this week with me.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point because you look at something like Walking Dead. I mean, I say that specifically because like a couple days ago I was looking on Netflix. I said I haven't watched this show in like 5 years. I have a free night. What do I want to do? I'm gonna watch something. No, I just gave up because I couldn't figure out where I even was. But like, imagine like, I'm watching that and somebody else is trying to watch TV. Oh yeah, you want to watch episode 205 of Walking Dead? Well, I haven't watched the other 204 episodes. There's a barrier there. Whereas with this show, and why like other things in Star Wars, like the Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade, it's based on a new character that has no other links to anything else, so you can read it without having read anything else in Star Wars and get it. Same sort of thing applies to a episodic show where it's like, oh, I didn't watch the first 3 episodes. Oh, don't worry, they don't carry over. You could just watch this one with me. And you can go back and watch the other episodes. Like, you could start here, you could start anywhere, essentially, and still get entertained and not have barrier of entry. That's a great idea for just
Yeah.
trying to drum up like more. Because Lando, they've already done a show. We've already got Obi-Wan. We've already got Boba Fett. We've already got Andor. We've already got, all these,
Ahsoka.
yeah, all these named character shows. So it's obviously it works. Duh. I mean, why would they greenlight something if they didn't think it was gonna work? But Lando is a character everybody likes. He's from the original trilogy. I guess just like Obi-Wan. So there's already a built-in audience for that. So it seems relatively safe for them to do that. But then Lando, he has his hands in so many aspects of the galaxy, whether it be the Empire, whether it be the Rebellion, whether it be the scum and villainy of the Earth, like bounty hunters. Like he's got so many connections that I could see like YouTube content creators for Star Wars going nuts. Because can you imagine every week, like you might get like cameo of the week kind of thing, where it's like, oh, there goes 4LOM and Zuckus trying to get Lando Calrissian, who got this artifact. They're trying to get it for the Empire, and they're working for, you could have like, oh yeah, there goes,
Lando and Dash Rendar.
yeah, exactly. Just name any name out there, and the chances are they've run into paths with Lando Calrissian. So
Yeah,
the capers and everything else would be pretty fun for that.
Yeah, see, that's a show as well. Like with Lando, because like, all right, like you said, everybody likes Lando, but when you do a Lando series, I feel like it's a lot easier than doing Obi-Wan, obviously Obi-Wan or Boba Fett, because the problem is Obi-Wan and Boba Fett are like icons across media, much less just Star Wars. Like everybody knows Boba Fett, everybody knows Obi-Wan Kenobi, like everyone knows Lando, but I feel like Lando doesn't hold as much gravity as those two characters do. So it's just like with Lando, I think you'd have a lot more flexibility to do more fun things like that. Like you could hypothetically, people like crack jokes about cameos and stuff for fan service, but hey, like if the fan service is done well, I'm here for it. So like you could lean into the cameo stuff for like a Lando series, like 1 week have a meeting with Jabba and the gang, or 1 week have a meeting with, like you said, the Empire. 1 week have a meet with someone in the Rebellion, like maybe like a Mon Mothma or a young Leia in secret over something or whatever, like something along those lines. Have him meet with Vader. Like there's plenty of different things you could do with his character, where it's just like, hey, here's another one too to keep in mind. We haven't even touched this yet, but Lando. So Lando, obviously, if we're going to do it around the Solo time period, we could bring back one of our most fan favorite live action people. You could bring back Ray Park and have him and Crimson Dawn and
Oh,
Kira. Like, just imagine if we get just see, like, I think the more that we've talked through this, now that I think about it, I almost feel like even if we don't do the episodic thing, I think the Lando series, like, especially with Donald Glover working from the solos, working on the solo movie, like this might end up just being an indirect Solo 2, but starring
yep,
Lando instead of Han. So
yep.
like maybe it's Lando and Han. Like, hey, here we go, pitching ideas to Donald Glover.
Yep.
Maybe it's Lando and Han, and maybe it's like Han saying, "Yo, can you help me find Kira?" Blah blah blah, and Lando being like, "Hey, I have contacts." Blah blah blah, and then we're gonna eventually run into Darth Maul and Kira eventually.
Oh man. Yeah, that could be awesome. That could really be
Yeah.
awesome. Every
I mean,
every year we get the panel celebration, make Solo 2 happen or whatever they call it, and you see it trending on Twitter every once in a while, and yeah, I'm part of that crowd. I want a Solo 2. I love that movie, and too
yeah.
bad it didn't turn out better than it was as far as the box office, and we've been through that 100 times, but yeah, I could see that being like a backdoor, like this being a backdoor sequel. Doesn't have to be a movie. They could do it through Disney Plus and get that traction through there.
Oh yeah, I would really like to see that. Along with, like I said, our episodic ideas with Billy. If we can't get Billy D. Williams doing his stuff, then I would like to see maybe an alternated Solo 2, kind of like makeshift Solo 2 series with Lando being the title character. Like that would be pretty good. And I do think though there is a little bit of credence to like this potential idea, just because, say what you want about Kathleen Kennedy, but like she indirectly threw Alden under the bus, when she was talking about him playing Han, basically saying like just because he didn't look like Han was the reason the movie stunk. And she like indirectly like told like Hollywood Reporter that last year, and it's just like, I think since like maybe Lucasfilm has that kind of feeling, inside the building, like maybe in their heads it would be safer to lead the series with Donald Glover, but still have maybe Alden as like a side character in the show.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because you know what I'm saying, like if Kathy's already like mentioning that, basically like throwing, like I said, throwing Alden out there, like that means like from the creative side, from like Lucasfilm's creative side, they're viewing Alden as kind of like the liability. So why not just basically shuffle around the idea a little bit, because fans want to see the Solo 2 stuff.
Yep.
So like why not shuffle the idea around a little bit and just have Alden be character number 2 or 3 on the depth chart, and have Donald Glover be the lead. Like maybe have a Donald Glover, Amelia, and then Alden.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact probability or the exact stats on this, so don't quote me, but
yeah,
getting a temperature of the room of like Star Wars fans, I feel like more people would be happier with the performance of Donald Glover as Lando than they were with Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo. Do you think that's correct?
Yeah, I mean that was my personal feeling, and that's what I feel like. Even just like if you think about it, like going back to the reviews and the time, like a lot of people basically said, I mean, of course we can't like include every review in the world, but a lot of people viewed Solo 2 as like, Amelia Clarke was fine. They Donald Glover was like the standout, of course, and Alden, like most people were like Alden did fine with what he had to work with. Like it was just whatever. It was kind of like a B performance, just whatever. Like, he was okay. But so I feel like a lot of people were just like fine to neutral on his portrayal as Han. And also I think the good thing is nowadays you have people feel like are getting a little more forgiving on the idea of like recasting and things like that. It seems like, just because it's like, man, if we don't recast or something, we're never going to see our favorite characters anymore. Like, we got to do something here. So I think there's that kind of like building in the psyche of fans as well. So I think that could potentially help Alden's calls of coming back as playing Han versus hurting it. And then of course, with this series, like say if it is Donald and Alden and Amelia, of course then, like I said earlier, Jonas has done like so much like nice PR stuff for Lucasfilm. Of course they're gonna bring Jonas in as Chewbacca. Like,
yeah, I mean he's already back in Lucasfilm for doing that one Wookiee and the Acolyte. So
yeah,
there you go. Yeah. So there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential for Lando, and I'm really hoping it comes out in 2025, 2026. Let's get the panel at 2025 Celebration in Japan. There you go. Let's get the first panel.
Actually, you know what? Ooh, man. I hate to say it. Okay, so I think now that I think about it, now that we've just kind of like broke this down, if the movie or if the show doesn't come out by 2025, then that means it won't come out till 2027, I think, because I think they're going to want to take all of the early part of 2026 to go hard into the marketing of Star Wars is back into theaters in May that year. So yeah. I think we're looking at either 2025 because the 2025 calendar is pretty clear at the moment, I think. And then it's either that or 2027. I think those are your two options actually, now that we've like kind of talked through this.
Yeah. So there you go. We want to hear what your ideas are for Lando. We want to hear what you guys have to say about a new writer with Donald Glover and his brother, Stephen Glover. Tap to write Lando, the series. So, yeah, there you go. It was very fun to talk about that. All the possibilities. It's always one of the best parts of a Star Wars podcast and, having a community of just speculating, spitballing ideas, our wish lists. Of course, we don't want to be attached to our wish list too much because then when it comes out, and we don't want to be the people out there just raging on the internet, just hurting people's feelings. No, we don't want that. But it's always fun to think about anyway. So yeah, as I said right off the top, we are available on any podcast streaming network of your choice. You could go to Google, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and more. Just search Outer Rim Transmission. And we are live every Sunday around 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern. I think we'll probably be doing 8 p.m. Eastern next week. But you can follow me on social, Starrapter, on Twitter, the day of to know exactly when we go live, because that's when I usually put out my posts on Facebook and on Twitter. Yeah, so what about you, Ben? What are the people going to see you talking about this week on Twitter? Or X, I should say.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter talking probably sports, sports and Star Wars. It's been more Star Wars lately just because I feel like there's been more Star Wars chatter to talk about and whatnot. Always interesting times over there. So you can find me there at RealBenMaynard, and then you can find me on Instagram as well at RealBenMaynard, and I just post like my workouts and all the fitness related stuff over there. And then for Milton, you can find his Twitter at MiltonWeber7, and then his Instagram is Milton7Weber, and he's pretty good. He posts his workouts or his meal preps every couple days, so he's always on there too, posting fitness stuff.
Heck yeah. So, as I said off the top, you can find my videos. I am super close to my subscriber goal of 2,000. I'm just literally a couple people away. So, if you haven't already, I might even hit 2,000. I haven't even looked. But if you haven't already, subscribe, because then you'll be notified when we go live, exactly when we go live. So, there will be no mistaking that. So, for Milton, who couldn't be here this week, for Ben, for Chris, a.k.a. Starrapter, that's going to do it for Outer Rim Transmission 116. May the Force be with you. And